Oh, so happy and thank you so much, everybody, taking your time and joining this uh, topic. Actually, when we had a meeting, Lamas and Kembos, about the curriculum, and my topic was the history of Lojong, or the river lineage, and so I will stick with that because the the actual mind training, the definition, I will leave to another other lamas because everybody has little uh, duty to do. So I don't want to take their job. Uh, but before we start teaching, and I would like to meditate 1 minute, meditate on bodhicitta, thinking that this teaching is for the benefit of all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment and able to follow the footsteps of the great Bodhisattva Atisha, the Kadamba founder Atisha, and then his disciple Damdampa, and all the disciples and perfect bodhicitta. So please arise compassion. All right, so the next is Yuan Tinla will display the lineage prayer, and let's chant lineage prayer to receive the blessing of root and lineage masters. Now it's your show.
Give me just a moment. I was just starting the Chinese translation for anybody that is interested in that.
Mm. If it's, will the Chinese translation be recorded together, or?
No, it's going to be simultaneous, and
Oh, simultaneous.
that's not recorded.
Oh, thank you, Lama Mark, for joining.
And for some reason, I'm not seeing the option to share, which is crazy. Oh, there it is. Not where it normally is. I'm not using my regular computer.
Take your time. Everybody generating bodhicitta, you are safe. Come on, Triyana Dhamma. Oh, there we go. Oh, Lord Jesus, de lo no ro da ma ba me la ju ji ga ya bo ba. To sa je za ga je ga ra ma ba. Je je ju ni ju ba ze na da. De ta za za ba de ndu ba za. So la ja ja je la nga ni be. Nya me ra ga da bo ga je la. So de zo ga je la ya ma na. Ja ba ze no na da je je la je la ga je ga bra so ba je. Se na ga la ja je me ba da. Sendere do do je be ga je la. Nye kare je ba me ba je je la. Lo go ga je go ra so ba je. Me ga de go je be la ma la. yanda so ande be gan la je me ga je wa je la ye me gan je ngo yra so ba ye gan shara do be ngo so ma de Maje de granjo de gangela. Kanda lo no da wa chengela. Mando ngo je grazomba je. Je ya ma ye je ya jara wala. Mangaero Vanjarave Ganjela Konde Yeme Bavrajengela Jewa Gande Yanda Lama Ramen Jeje Bala Jeje Sabam Jayandera Doje Janga Hankovanyado Wana Naga Nambari. Sanjela Name Bayan Tabazo, Sanjay Pawaro, Chela, Chune Janga Bata, Tombo Jimani Zagandis and Dadanya Jiba, Zavanya Bazamba, Jura, Jiba, and Baja Zada, Zamba, Della, Zamba, Chuna. So once again, we generate Bodhicitta for the benefit of all sentient beings. And as I mentioned earlier, the topic is the history of Lojong, and I passed maybe a week, a little bit sick, so you might hear a little bit of coughing here or there, and thank you for your understanding. And of course, it's kind of well known that the Lojong lineage or the Mantrini originally come from the Kadampa lineage, the Atisha, great master Atisha, and also talk about how Atisha went through tremendous hardship to see his uh, root guru, from whom actually he gave rise to bodhicitta, was Selimpa. I will be using some Tibetan terms of, Tibetan names, and since it will be recorded, I think it's sometimes good to have those masters' name in Tibet, in Tibetan, and so. Before I talk about Atisha, I also a little bit talk about how Atisha was invited and who whose idea about inviting Atisha, and of course the there was a whole Tibetan succession of kings. Starts with the great King Samsi Gampo, and he was considered emanation of Genese, and who had two consorts, and one's from Nepal. One was from China, and the China was Jaza Konjo, was the emanation of Green Tara, and then Paza from Nepal was the emanation of White Tara. And so since then, there was, as I mentioned earlier, there was a successions of Tibetan kings, and up till the last king was actually the 8th century, the Tibetan king Tristan Detsen, who invited Guru Rinpoche from India, also the Kenshin Shiwatso, Shantarajita from India, brought Buddhism into Tibet. And of course, Buddhism kind of started, very beginning of those the king Sansi Gambo, but widely spread or flourished in the 8th century. And then his nephew, or it's his grandson actually, the last king, which was the 42nd, unlike the 43rd president or something. But last one, 42nd, the king, Lang Dharma, and who actually at the beginning he was very respectful. He even built some shrine or temples in Tibet, but then due to a lot of influences and that his father has a few children, and he was Lang Dharma. It's literally means the youthful, like ox. He was like a very, very strong, like ox, but very, very uh, uh, ruthless. And then, his mind changed, and that's how the Tibetan um, Buddhism, really deteriorated by him, destroyed all the whole revolution happened while he was in the kingdom about 4 years, 4 or 5 years. And destroying all the statues, burning, and he was just everything destroyed. And then after that, the Lantama appeared, and then there was one Bodhisattva who later actually, what the word used to be, tamed or assassinated that king. And that's how not only he destroyed the monasteries or the monastics, also put in jail, etc. But also there were a lot of different consider themselves as special tantric practitioners, and brought the Dharma, all kind of they give a tantra or name, different names, but polluted the Buddha's teaching. As I mentioned earlier, Lang Dharma was the 42nd Tibetan king. Yet at the same time, he was the last king of the succession. And then after he was assassinated, and by Lamampaji Doji, one of the individual, and then there was no actual official king for the whole Tibetan, but there was we call Suvutoa, means all these different kings' families scattered around, and then the Ngadi part of central Tibet. There was one uh, uh, king family name was Lama Yishi, and so he was so disappointed about what happened, and he also felt very responsible as king's family, and he wants to uh, refresh the Dharma that the Buddha's teaching in Tibet, and he was very, very determined to do that. And then he uh, he's those days, like as you also read different biography of masters, including Lord Maraba. Whenever they go to India, they have to collect a lot of golds, and or when they go to India and receive teachings, they always offer golds. And you also heard the story about Naropa when Lord Marba went to see Naropa, and then he offered the golds, and then Naropa basically took the gold from him and then throw away, and Marba was very, very disappointed, and he was like, "Oh, I worked so hard to collect these golds, but this is a excuse me." He didn't kind of couldn't control it. So, "Oh, how can you do that?" Something like that. And then Naropa said that my child or my disciple, the gold is only symbolic offering, because in order to receive teaching or practice Dharma, you have to go through hardships, because that's how Buddha himself become enlightened through hardships. And if you are greedy about gold, then he just kind of wave his hands, and the entire place become a golden island. And so back to the story that Lama collect some golds, and then he sent 21 very youthful or very intelligent uh, young people to send to India to learn about Buddhism, and especially he excuse me, especially he wants to invite someone, a pandita or special master from India, but he wants them to look for that. And then after analyze all those young people, studying, and because of the hardship in the different conditions, and most of them passed away because the water was not right, food was not doesn't, so they had a lot of health issues, except Natsu Lotsawa was another translator. He became very scholarly, and then he came back and then mentioned to Lama, the king, that in India there are many, many great masters, but there's one master was very special. That was Atisha, George Pade Atisha. And so Lama was very, very pleased. And then he continued collect some gold for offering. And at that time, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of anti-Buddhists, and there's one region, Uyghurs. Nowadays, it's northwest of China. There's Xinjiang. There are some Muslim population, And the king of that region actually discovered that Lama is looking for gold and inviting um, special master and revive, or let's say, reestablish Buddhism in Tibet. And they are anti-Buddhists. And so he captured Lama and put in jail. Because Lama was a small little king of the particular region in Ngadi, and it didn't have all those any power, and so then this king told the Lama that if you decided to let go or against abandon the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and then I will let you go. I let you free from the jail. And two choices. That's one choice. And then the king said, no, I will never, even like words, I will never abandon Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And even my life, even I have to kind of sacrifice my life. And then the king said, okay, since you are not doing that, and then the second choice is that you must obtain or find a gold that equal to your body size, your size of your body. And if you find that gold, then I will let you go. And so, of course, no matter how um, it was very hard to find that kind of gold. So he had a nephew, and his nephew's name was Jiang Chuwei. Jiang Chuwei. And so his nephew was very, very determined to, get this kind of gold. The reason why I mention about all of this, because mind training that you're going to practice or you're already practicing, it's not like something we normally receive teachings like this, right? It is something like as we said, the result of the tears and the bloods of such, and like Tibetan's king. So his nephew really worked hard a few months and collected some gold, and that gold was about equal to the king's head, the size of king's head. And then they said, no, that's not enough. We need to have like a full size of his body. And then the king, the Dharma king, Lama Chonchue, told his nephew, oh, please forget it. Even you able to require, able to find, this kind of gold, the whole body size, and they will not let me go. And I'm, very weak. I'm treated really bad in a jail and beat up, all this happening. And I don't know how long I live. So instead, I would like to use this gold, the size of his head, and go to, Natsu Lotsawa, the Lotsawa who came back, go back to India and invite Atisha. And please tell Atisha that the Tibetan, this particular region's king sacrificed his life. He's completely he doesn't care his life, the behalf of Buddha's teaching, and especially in order to bring the pure or Pandita who can kind of purify the Buddha's teaching in Tibet, because there were so many really terrible things going on, and so then king also insist, or let's say that if you are not able to come to liberate Tibet, and I will be very, very disappointed, and I may not able to see you when you come back, but I would be very, very happy, if you could come. So then his nephew sent, other invitation, the other people, including Natsulosawa, and then offered the gold to Chojie, the Padin Atisha. And Atisha was very, very important in India. And if the news about invitation from Tibet heard by others, it would be very hard to invite because he was very, very special. And terms of Atisha, I will say briefly about Atisha. He was born in um India, and it was his birth was 982, 982, and was born in a king's family. Of course, there's Atisha's, and so even though he was the prince, but he abandoned everything and became monk and relying on the Mahasiddha Avaditi, and then from 21 to 29, he received all the different tantric empowerments and instructions, and then his name become Dipankara Shinjana. So that is the after become fully ordained, and so then he went to another island and see his master Selimpa and relying on upon him like 12 years, etc. So he basically learned so much in India and also all this tantric practice. However, when he went only he was able to generate bodhicitta from Selimpa master, because through that he received all the Mantraining teachings about bodhicitta. And when he went to find his teacher Selimpa, and it took months in the ocean and in a sail, and been through tremendous hardship. And then he came back and become the one of the gatekeeper at this. In those days, like there were a lot of debates in India, and Beta Malashila, this uh, temple, and he was one of the gatekeeper, which means that debate with the non-Buddhists and tame their mind or subdue them, and through reasoning, such very, very important. And then once he received this letter from the Lama Yeshiva, he was very, very touched, because how Lama Yeshiva, the king, expressed about the desperation and how himself sacrificed his life in jail. And so although Atya was pretty convinced, but he was not really, it wasn't in his hand to just go. And he went to pray to Tara, because Tara was one of his man Idam deity. And then Tara said that yes, you must go to Tibet and help Tibetan people, and you will have a very special disciple, Upaska. Upaska means lay lama. It's people. People say, I took a lay vow, so then you become Upaska. There will be one special Upaska students waiting for you, who going to really, bring your spread your teaching in Tibet. But then Tara said that uh, your life will be shortened 20 years of your life will be shortened. And then Adisha said, I really don't care as long as I'm able to benefit sentient beings, and it's okay if I live a shorter, life, because Adisha was supposed to live 93 years old, but he lived 73 because, of his living condition in Tibet, and all of those obstacles happened, but he never cared. So through this kind of little stories that we kind of learn that how these great masters sacrificed their life for us. Now, before even Atisha, like this Tibetan king, who didn't get to see Atisha, because those days, like from India to Tibet, it took like more than 1 year to arrive, and then the Lama was already passed away, and he was actually died with torture in Osage in that jail. And so when then uh, Atisha arrived, and then his this king's nephew, he was kind of overseen and become the regent of his father, and who had a very, very elaborate ceremony to welcome Atisha. And I saw one of his students teaching that there's when you go to pujas or monasteries, there's a big radon they play, and that's this radon instrument was actually started. That's uh, uh, instrument was produced for Adisha's welcoming ceremony. So that's then the tradition continued. And then once Adisha arrived in Tibet, and his the nephew of the king said that we don't really need all these famous tantric teachings, such, but what we really need is something focused on the karmic conditioning, karmic cause and conditioning, because these days in Tibet that everybody's consider high practitioner, like tantric practitioners, or does all kind of negative things, and we just only want you to teach a very foundation of the Buddhist teaching. And so Atisha, at the beginning, he only taught refuge, 3 jewels. And excuse me, people criticizing Atisha that, people, master, you are very, very scholarly, and people talk about you are only teaching about refuge, and then people, you nicknamed you a refuge master. And then Atisha joining hands together said that, oh, I'm just so happy that my name had the opportunity to use as a refuge master. I did something for Buddha's teaching. And then he taught about the cause and conditions, and then he composed based on the request of Lachin Chongchue, and he composed mm, this teaching. And known as, in Buddha Pata, or the lamp of the path of enlightenment, which teaches about stages of the path for the 3 kinds of individuals: the higher individuals, intermediate, and inferior capacity. Perfect faith is the path of less individual. Perfect renunciation is the path of the medium individual, and the perfect wisdom or altruism is the path of the superior individual. So this is become very well known. And then after Atisha arrived, began to teach, and then he met his disciple that was prophesied by Tara and Damdampa. that was in Dontempa is his main disciple. His full name is Dontempa Javin June. And so Dontempa came, was born on, I'm not so good about the numbers, 1043. Okay, 1000 without 143. And he also become pretty scholarly within Kham area, the eastern Tibet, and then slowly he learned everything from Atisha. And when Atisha came to the Nari, and then when Atisha saw Dontempa, said, "Oh, my disciple Dontempa, the Upasaka that was prophesied by Tara." And so Dontempa become the main disciple of Atisha. And then Dontempa had a very famous three disciples, known as the three brothers. And when we talk about brothers, they are like Dharma brothers. And so those three are the source of mind training and practice. And on these three masters' name is Potowa. Potowa is one of them. And then Sharawa and Puchonwa. So this is three brothers. And then Potowa, when you read the story of his own Kamapa and to talk about, the previous his incarnations was Saraha and many, many masters, including Potowa. So Potowa was considered emanation of his own Kamapa as well. And then Potowa had very special two disciples in Tibetan Langsher. Langtongpa, the master Langtongpa, and then Sharawa. Langtongpa, who composed the 8 verses, the Lojong mind training, Langtongpa. They call him Longtong Wanapa, means, someone is a very frowny Lama. Was very frowning. He doesn't smile at all. And then someone said, "Oh, Master, why you I never seen you smile, except one day he had a visit, mouse on come to Mandala, and then one mouse tried to take that turquoise on his mandala and then couldn't pick it up. Then another mouse was trying to help, and then he smiled. That was his first time he ever smiled, because it says that he says there's no time to smile or anything because everything's impermanent. That's how Kadampa masters practiced. And before they go to sleep, they always put their ball, the soup bowl or upside down. They say, "Oh, I may be died tomorrow." And then now it comes to the 7th point of mind training, because 7th point of mind training was composed by Chekawa Ishidoji, the author. The 7th point mind training that very well known, and there's a commentary by Njanga Kuntu and many, many masters. And Chekawa Ishidoji, of course, later become the disciple of Sharapa. As I mentioned, the three brothers. One of the brother, Potowa, had two disciples. That is the Langri who composed the 8 verses, and then Sharawa, who later become the teacher of Chekawa Ishidoji Chekawa, who composed the famous 7 point of mind training. And Chekawa, his father was an imam master. And then Chekawa, studied from his father and other lamas. He became very, very scholarly with both the Nima and the Sarma. Sarma means or other lineages. And he also relied received a lot of teaching from Rechompa, the disciple, moon-like disciple of Milarepa, and he received a lot of teaching from Rechompa also. And then he heard someone kind of found a verse, let's say 2 words, says something like all the negatives or blames or difficulties that sentient beings experience, I take all of those, and may all of my happiness and joy experienced by sentient beings. And these 2 sentences, and he was so moved, even though he received so many teachings from so many masters, but these 2 words, like he said, okay, I must find the source of this. And so then he heard that Geshe Sharapa and Larutomba and Sharapa. The Sharapa was giving teaching, and he stood from far away because he doesn't want to receive, all the teachings, but he was just listening, teaching from far away, and then waiting for Sharapa. And once Sharapa finished his teaching, and then he came all the way to his room, and then Langri put his clothes on the floor and said, "Please have a seat, and I want to receive a teaching." And then Sharapa thought he was one of the receiver or disciple, and he said, "You already received the teachings, and why you have to I have to sit again?" And jokingly he told that. And then Chekava said, "Well, I have a very special question." And then Charavas had sat down and then asked where this sentences come from or verse come from. One says that, I will take all the blames of difficulties of other sentient beings and may all the happiness of mine, experienced by others. And then Sharava said, "Oh, it's actually my Vajra brother or Dhamma brother, Lari Thamba. It's in his 8 verses teachings, and it's come from there." And then Sharava, the Chekava said, "Okay, how can I receive this teaching?" And Sharava said, "Well, Lari Thamba already passed away, and if you have the diligence and the faith, I'm happy to teach you." And then he actually, received teaching from Sharava, and then he was so moved by these verses and the teachings from Sharapa, and he relied on Sharapa many, many, many years. And then he composed this 7 point of mind training, which actually captures the both ultimate bodhicitta and relative bodhicitta. At the beginning, I'm not going details about the mind training, the 7 point of mind training. But at the beginning, you talk about, everything as illusion, and there's, nothing is going, nothing is passing. At the same time, ultimately everything is beyond, everything is beyond elaborations. And then, you know, the rest of the focus on the relative truth, which basically means that if we are able to follow these great masters, day-to-day life, if we have a lot of different thoughts and are supposed to transform into bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta, or compassion, or loving kindness, whatever thought arise, not be wasted. Remember, Lamthongpa never smiled, right? Because he only think about impermanence. I think just even like really sometimes it's beyond our mind that how can you do that, but it's all about determination and meditate on impermanence, which Lama did. So my point is that I know this curriculum teaching, however, uh, this is how we supposed to practice. Once if there's no any thought, then remain in absolute suchness, or a primordial wisdom, and if any thought arise, transform into bodhicitta. And first, kadampa, because it's mind training teachings come from kadampa. What does kadampa mean? Kadam, there are two. Ka means scriptures or teaching. Dam means transmission or oral transmission or practice, actually, which means that it is mentioned that even this one syllable of the Buddha's teaching, even like one syllable, supposed to uh, experience or supposed to transform into uh, practice or oral practice, not be wasted. That's what Kadampa means. So all the teachings of Buddha, whatever, if it's 84,000 or that every teaching he gave, it's supposed to translate into only into practice, not be used as a education or such. And so then our own lineage, our Kaju lineage, that you know, actually, Atisha was one of the disciple of the great master Naropa, and Atisha received teaching from Naropa. Especially as we all know that the actual the Kadampa teachings came to our lineage very widely during the time of Gambopa, because Gambopa, until later part of his life, he received teaching from Milarepa. Until that, he was a Kadampa monastic or Kadampa practitioner, and he received all the Kadampa teachings from Jayandapa, one of the George Badi Atisha's disciple, and all the teachings. And according to his biography, as it says that Gambopa already achieved some level of boomings through the practice of mind training or Kadampa practice, which is actually nothing more than a relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. And then when he came to see Milarepa, and he received all the Mahamudra and Tantric teachings, and that's how, as we say, Katsa Cho Jinti in Tibetan means this two stream of Kadampa teachings and the Mahamudra teachings came into one, and that's how our Kaju lineage practice. But not only Kaju lineage, but Kadampa teaching practiced by all the lineages, and for example, Gelupa, ever since the Tsongkhapa, from Tsongkhapa on, they call it the new Kadampa, because Tsongkhapa not only maintaining the teaching of Kadam lineage, but also he composed a lot of culminated many different teachings, so and become like a little new tradition. And then in our Kaju lineage, as I mentioned earlier, that Gambopa taught, and Gambopa taught the Kadampa lineage, and then the first to come up with some chamber also received a lot of teachings from other lineages. Besides, he received all the Kadampa lineage, teachings from Gambopa, but it was also the Geshe Shawa Gamba and other masters of Kadam lineage, and then that continued into our lineage. And also Satyapa as well, they also practice the Kadampa lineage, and of course the Tantric practice, they have all different lineages. And so all of our Tibetan Buddhism basically following Kadampa lineage and practicing the 7 point of mind training, the 8 verses of Lani Thomba. As we all know that all of this taught by His Holiness 17th Karmapa. His Holiness 17th Karmapa also taught the Jamchu Lamden, the I'm not sure if it's the correct. I always use translation from the Ramzan Ishi translation, Lamp of the Path of Enlightenment. So this text is widely taught by His Holiness Karmapa, and there is a very, very special commentary by the one of the Gyatso Rinpoche's incarnation, Panju Tendru, and there's one volume of commentary on that, and recently published that. So basically, so that is how lineage came about. And then what does Kadampa, practice? They also have like tantric practice, like 16 different Kadampa practices. Then also there's now another 10 different practice that they do, known as the 10 innermost jewels. Kadampa 10 Dharma, sometimes they call Kadampa 10 Dharma, also known as the 10 innermost jewels, are a set of principles emphasizing inner transformation and spiritual practice within the Kadampa tradition of Buddhism, aiming to eliminate suffering and attain enlightenment. And briefly, this is how, here's a breakdown of the 10 innermost jewels. Is that the three practices of I'm not so good with this word. Expulsion. Yontila.
Expulsion.
Expulsion. What does that mean?
When somebody is expelled, they're sent away, they're not allowed to participate in something.
Oh, okay. Expulsion. Reaching and striving. First, practicing being expelled from the rank of humans. This encourages a sense of humility and detachment from worldly attachments. So in Tibetan means, it means that you go beyond society, which all of the masters did, especially Milarepa. Milarepa always run away from people, and there's Milarepa's caves has special names. The first is, says cave, and then the secret cave or such. It's because when he meditated in particular caves, and then someone maybe saw him and received teachings, and then he feels that he has to run away from people and practice further because he realized that enlightenment is more important than just teaching one or two people. That's how we become enlightened. So that means practicing being expelled from the rank of humans. And second is reaching for the rank of dogs. Not on, I mean, like not in the Western dogs. Western dogs has much better life than human beings, they are so cared and they're, just uh, but unfortunately, some places, dogs are so many dogs in Tibet. There's so many dogs, and they are everywhere. So, another word, nobody really cares, unless there's some of the watchdogs or something. So many dogs everywhere, and of course, know, uh, it means that if you sleep with dogs and become like a dog, people are not always like disturb you. That's what it means. So, of course, like at Tang Monastery where I come from, they are like always like 50 dogs to feed. So, if they are sometimes, we get to feed them. So that is the second one. As a practitioner, you become like uh, this significance, seeking refuge in Dharma, even in difficult circumstances. And then third is striving for the rank of Deva. This means striving for enlightenment and spiritual progress. Well, if we practice, like, just leave every worldly behind, like, as you mentioned, like expelled from the rank of humans, and then company with dogs like that, wherever you practice, you don't care about the dirtiness or such, and then naturally, you achieve enlightenment. Spirit, your spiritual progress will be progressed without noticing. So that's three. Uh, and then they call entrust in the depths of death to the cave. This refers to accepting the impermanence of all life and death and finding refuge in the Dharma. So you uh, mm, it seems like there's something missing, but normally it says like Shefu Zhonglati. First, your life is be like a beggar, so that you don't have any attachment to any positions. And then first your mind uh, determined or focused on Dharma, and through the renunciation, everything is suffering, everything is changed, and only way to achieve enlightenment or happiness is practice Dharma. So mind is focused on Dharma, and then Dharma supported or focused on to the beggar, which means that you don't practice like something uh, someone respected or special group. So you are respected, you become a big Lama or such. No, you're always seeking for a beggar. Just like wander around, just only think about one day, like Milarepa did. And then the purpose of become like beggar, and then is the death, which means that you can die anytime, just like Lari Thamba, who practice on meditation of impermanence. And so through impermanence, and you could die anytime, so there's no regrets, and then that's your destination. And then next we call three Vajras. Proceeding will well with uncaptured Vajra. This means to act with wisdom and skillful means without being attached. Without being attached to outcomes. So you have no any expectations or fears. Second, living behind the shameless Vajra. This signifies letting go of negative habits and attachments. The next, being accompanied by the transcendent wisdom Vajra. This emphasizes cultivating wisdom and understanding through practice. So cultivating wisdom basically means you are cultivating not to attach to emotions. There's nothing to cultivate wisdom. Wisdom is always there like a sun, that of like a pure water. There's nothing to purify, just water. And sun is, the sun is always there. But what does this really mean is that we when we experience emotions, negative thoughts, and not clinging on to it because there's nothing to clinging on it in wisdom. And then Kadamba also practiced, of course, that we call three, the Vinaya and Abhidhamma and Sutras. And then they also have, four deities. They mainly emphasize on four deities. That is the source of Buddha Dhamma is Buddha, so they practice Buddha Shakyamuni, and one of the main deity practice. And then the source of compassion, bodhicitta, is Cheneze. Now I'm not sure about the practice Cheneze. And when Atisha sent to Tibet, and also Tara, when Tara predicted or told him, practice loving kindness and compassion, especially Genese is the embodiment of that, make sure you practice that. And then the source of activity, which means flourish them activities, they practice Tara, and Tara is very special for flourishing them activities, excuse me. And then in order to remove all the obstacles, they practice one wrathful deity called Tu Myowa. And there's, I guess it's a Sanskrit, Todakala. So that's what I have, I'm sorry, I don't have the Sanskrit word. I mean, there's one, but I can't pronounce it. What can you do? I have to be honest. I can't. Not something like look like Coca-Cola. I can't say Coca-Cola. I never have gonna be the scholar of toddler. But this is what I'm going to now summarize. This is what we are looking forward to, because number one, I'm not expert about mind training, but this is a very high level lineage. What we mentioned, a few things. One is that three things emphasize. I always like to talk about three things. One is that as Buddha mentioned sutras, Metsupada Soyungan Kitara Tagpada Tangchuza means I means Buddha Shakyamuni during his previous lives. I've been through the massive fire or massive weapons or all kind of difficulties. I passed those. Uh, I went through a lot of sacrifice of my life, body, in order to find the genuine Dharma for the benefit of all sentient beings. That was one of Buddha's, you know, uh, teaching sutras. So likewise, for example, here, in order to invite Atisha, before we even talk about Atisha, Lama, he basically died his life, who died in jail. And this is one hand, like, wow, he died. But if we kind of take ourselves as an example, like how we practice and how we sacrifice our life with Dharma, I think, this brings a lot of awareness or a lot of reminding because we are seem like very fragile, talk about it like in terms of maintaining daily practice, sometimes we can't do those and still we reaching to achieve enlightenment. And then Atisha himself, he went to see his guru and went through those, islands and, sacrificed tremendous life. Not only that, coming born in India, and it's totally different coming to Tibet, high elevation, and he didn't care about that 20 years lifespan and just something we can think of ourselves like, okay, if you go somewhere, you may able to have 20 years extended life. We would be very happy if someone says 20 years in the shorter and we feel different. So, but Atisha never cared. Sacred Dharma, his life was secondary. And then once he came to Tibet, actually, there's because the Tibetans a little bit wild and they are unfortunately influenced by those different masters who gave very very polluted teachings after the long time destroyed Tibetan the Buddha Dharma. And those disciples at the beginning was very against. That's why they even like complain about his teaching about refuge. They say, why you only teach refuge? Because there are some other some masters came from India. Now consider themselves as a teacher, and then they translate some of the teachings that already translated before in very very negative interpretation for so Atisha basically revived, like refreshed the whole teaching and it becomes the more purer than before. Even though the King Choson dates 8th century and Guru Pema Manjune and Shantarashta, already gave spread teaching and such authentic teachings, but Atisha even made much, much better than the original teaching. So that's the teaching that you're going to receive. And one on the other hand, there is like a, modern days, like if we could see some of the really good practitioners, they have some signs at the time of death or like during their life. And once again, it's because it's not because of our own, like uh, it's not because of our own uh, capability, but it's because of these great masters, Dharmakins, they sacrifice their life, just like Milarepa mentioned that, those individuals in the future, if you maintain your practice, you may have a better experience, you may have easier experience of meditation than those of than before, because we sacrificed our life to get an accumulation of merit and purify negative karma so that followers in the future may have easier path. So that's the only good news for us. And that's it. So I only want to highlight, of course, if you go through, it's a beautiful, I have like a two history of Kadampa. It's like, you can read this like maybe 2005, if I don't have to do anything. But this is, I think, just a little bit, I already know that, most of you already know this history, but I think more than Atisha, of course, Atisha is very special because Atisha, but also there's the Tibetan king Lama Yeshiva and his nephew, who was actually 17 years old, a teenager. Nowadays, if you are 17 years old, what do they do? Uh, so was very, very, dedicated, and he kind of accomplished the will of his uncle and invited Atisha, and then everything happened. All the teachings came to Tibet, and all these commentaries composed, and then all these oceans of masters, arise in Tibet because of Atisha. All right, so we are 9:15, and we have I was told at the meeting that I should leave a few minutes for question and session, and maybe Yantila can guide from here.
Okay. If you'd like to ask a question, please put it in the chat, and then we will share it with Lama Karma and encourage you to ask any questions that you have.
Or they can also ask and mute them, Yantin. Those people.
With a large group, unmuting gets
Okay.
a problem because people talk over each other, or it can be.
I think everybody now practicing mind training and bodhicitta, and everybody has a lot of patience.
We're going to unmute them, but this way it'll keep a sequence as people ask questions.
Here we go. There's one.
Oh, that's just a comment that we can use the raise hand feature in Zoom as well.
Oh, okay.
Using only one path works best, not having two
I
different.
agree. Yeah.
But thank you, Aaron, for the suggestion.
Yeah, actually, one thing I wanted to add was that the Atishas composed this the 3 different individual training practice, and then after Gambopa received those teachings, as we know, Gambopa's commentary, or his book Jewel Ornament of Liberation. I know there's another translation, and which is all about Kadampa teachings, and then younger Kunts. Okay, here we go. Question.
Yes, we have 2 questions. The first is from Donna.
It's wrathful. Yeah.
Is a wrathful deity for the Kadampa practice Mahakala?
No, actually, I feel a little bit of what's the word? Okay. The one there, it's called, I found it. What do they call it? So it's called Akala. in Sanskrit, and in Tibetan Miowa, and kind of similar to, isn't it? A little bit similar to Mahakala, but it's not really Mahakala. Doesn't. I will type the name, then you can, ask AI or or Google.
Art put the name in, but both of the names, Miowa and Akala. They're in the
Okay.
chat.
In Tibetan, Yontin?
Oh, the two names,
Okay,
Miowa and Akala, didn't specify which one is Tibetan.
yeah. Akala is Sanskrit. That's the Sanskrit. Then Miowa, I don't know. It's something like Miowa.
Yeah, he's got that in. Art has that in there.
The second question is, in the time of Atisha, did the monastics primarily come from a royal background? Thank you. Oh, no. If you talk about in India, they may have, different castes, but in Tibet, they come from, everywhere. Especially there was no royal kind of, family. Everything was destroyed, and the terminology they use is that after the long time of destroyed everything, called Sulma means like scattered Tibet, more like scattered camping everywhere because everything was destroyed. Everything was scattered, but some parts still exist. Those kings lineage, which was Lama was one of them. I have two questions. Could you please spell the name of Atisha's Upasaka student in the chat? Yes. And did Atisha have any women students? Okay, first try. Others. Drum temper. I mean, if I here we go. I don't remember D. Okay, D R O M. O, N. I will put whole name. Don't remember Javun Juni. And regard with your second question, according to his long biography, talk about also the revival of the nuns, a lot of nunneries, and also, able to receive their vows, and also a lot of lay Tibetan females also practiced the bodhicitta, but I don't recall at the moment like he has a particular disciple or female. I don't recall, or I don't remember. You're welcome.
We have another question from Billy Lou. How can one transform adversity into the path to enlightenment?
Oh, I missed that one. Okay, I didn't miss. Yeah. How can one transform adversity into the path to enlightenment? This is, not easy, isn't it? We all go through these difficulties, and we do talk about, but I think it's also very, very, very fortunate to even talk about because we have choices. And this is mind training is so special because diversity, uh, when we go through diversity, it's part of life, isn't it? Like as long as we are in this samsara, we always go through up and downs. No matter how we think we are doing good, it's always like change all the time. I'm going through all those changes and the diversities, but I can't do this practice as I teach, but it's so fortunate to also actually, opportunity to read because uh, there are a few things they talk about when you go through diversity suffering. Number one comes, oh, I'm purifying my negative karma. I'm so happy instead of like agonizing. I think one example is like I'm much better. The cold that I got was actually pretty bad. The cough and everything is like I could emphasize in very negative way. Oh, okay, I caught cold and it's terrible, such such. It doesn't make any difference. So I could also well, glimpse or practice of bodhicitta. Oh, what to complain about. What's going on in Thailand. All this. I never seen like uh, before like pictures of the monasteries destroyed and the monks injured like that. I mean uh, every sentient being same, but it's particular, isn't it? Like his son come up actually gave a talk. He was talk about like how sad it is, and he wants to do special pujas. Anyways, my point is that I think if we translate into karmic condition and using bodhicitta, then there may not be a diversity for us, isn't it? Seriously. But then if we frustrate it and translate into negative, and then we create even further diversity. So it's comes to us. So that's why the mind training practice is so special. Not just only mind training practice, as it mentioned, the definition of Kadampa means that every teaching that Buddha taught translated into practice or a transformation or special instruction. So yeah, I think that's number one. Number two is uh, through that kind of diversity, if we are able to, open our mind, able to find more compassion towards other sentient beings, because everybody going through that, especially in someone and then you have sense of compassion. And so first is the purification of negative karma, and third like that. And then, next will be maybe your diversity could be a great opportunity to, change your life. Sometimes a lot of good things comes from really bad circumstances. So it's not always bad. And in Tibet, like, sometimes, people are a little bit distracted when they go through certain sickness or loss, and they become the one of the, special practitioners. They just don't. And this is kind of also has to do with culture in Tibet. If somebody's, sick or somebody's old or something like they think of, okay, now I just totally focus on practice. My father is 79 years old. He's kind of my brother used to kind of jokingly say he's cooked into Dharma. Means he's just practicing, all the time. Right now, I think this alone this year he probably done maybe like 20 something unit practice, right? The fasting practice. So that's what all they left. So yeah, so I think diversity, especially like mental emotions, I think sometimes very helpful to, you know, kind of awake a little bit. I'm not saying that, it's we should have that, but sometimes no choice. When you have no choice, but there's only one choice: either further get accumulation of negative karma, or take this opportunity to meditate or compassion. And it always comes to individuals. And also, but of course, then Kemburumbuchi, my teacher, used to say you also have to pray to Tara and other the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, may it be pacified.
That appears to be our last question.
Yes.
Oh, we just got a couple of thank yous.
Yeah, which means, I'm also looking forward to my upcoming Hundu retreat, which starts this weekend. And we all will be doing prostrations. I teach prostration, Vajrasattva, Mandala practice, and Guru Yoga. It's 5 days. One day we will be going to Kamaland to pay homage to Rinpoche's stupa. So we will have some Dhamma party. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, and for your patience and for your time and understanding. And definitely, by hearing the name of these great masters, and we must purify a lot of negative karma. So we dedicate the merit of this for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially what's going on in the world, politically, and so many stuff. So we sincerely pray so we can do the dedication. And Yanti Lame. Jaga Ninja Raza Grama Bajaga Dele Gama Jaga Danza Wanga Gama Ba Ojendo de Dele Shaudenzo Sona and ye Taje Zeba Nye Tane Nye Bedana Banze Chega Manje Bala Droba Ye Sebe Zole Dogan Yodojo Jambala Bao Chedra Jamba Tankanda Zambo Te Teta Ganje Jesa Dala Jenge Wande Da Danje Radengo Sanje Gozan Nipe Jela Da Juni Menje Dembe Jela Kende Meje Dembe Jela Jedra Ngo Nala Dobro Dejele Jave Jele Bakama Bade Dembe Nyebo Sandra Ganja Chajen Jime Che Dabara Deva Rajijo. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good night. Kamabachino.